All right, what is up, everybody? This is the Tuesday 10X, and we have the one and only Sean Herrero today coming to us live out of Danville. Is
Danville.
that close enough?
What's that?
Are you actually in Danville right now?
I am in Danville as we speak.
Nice. Well, as most people on this call know, you never know where Sean is. He could be in his adventure van. We could tell he's not in the van though.
No van
Uh,
today.
Yeah, so Sean, I know you wanted to talk about conversion, going from lead to loan, and you got some stories from the trenches to share. But why don't you just bring us up to speed on how the year is going? We are in May 13th. I mean, we are literally weeks away from halftime of 2025. How's the year panning out?
Oh, the year's good. I'm tracking for 100, but that's not good enough. I'm not happy
100
with my
million?
year.
100
100, yeah.
million?
Yeah, it's not where I want to be though. It's half of where I want to be. I on the Modern Mortgage Summit, I always say the market doesn't matter. And in California, there was over 274,000 residential purchase transactions last year. I did not do 0.1% of them, and that's a problem. Like I should be doing 274 units. So that's really what I'm focused on. And coming into this call, my lead conversion is really, really good. What I am working on this year is helping my realtors be able to direct me better. Like I'm coaching agents on how to make sure their clients use me, because if their clients use me, they'll have a better experience, they'll get more referrals. And I just was lacking in that department. So the lead conversion is fantastic. I just need to triple the amount of leads coming in.
Got it. Now, you did want to talk about lead conversion today.
Yeah.
So what's the thesis on that?
I talked to a lot of people, and I think the way that most loan officers are quote unquote selling mortgages is why they don't convert. I think we try to make it really easy on ourselves. And to me, the approach I take is probably counterintuitive to most, because I definitely spend more time on how I'm going to help people see what is best for them, help them make decisions. And I think because I spend that time, I end up saving time because I convert more of those people from a lead into a closed transaction that then refers me more people.
Yeah. And that was one of the things when you and I were going back on text planning for today, just you feel the experience you're delivering from a conversion standpoint is vastly better than what the typical loan officer is. So let's go. I want to ask some questions because I am preparing right now to write an article with Kristen Messerly where it's the state of the mortgage industry halftime report. So I want to ask you those questions just so I, got the Sean Herrero take on that. So first question, on a scale of 1 to 5, and I'm not asking for you, like for you, but for the mortgage industry, how big of a deal do you think the fact that they're going to have 10 million mortgages under management, a purchase funnel from Redfin of, 60 million consumers, for the typical local mortgage professional, how big of an impact and how big of a deal is that?
I think for refis, it's going to be a big deal. I think if you're focused on purchase transactions, it's not. And I also think that I just don't care about Rocket Mortgage. I never have. I love being second opinion to somebody who's qualified with Rocket Mortgage because they're just so easy to beat. What's interesting with Rocket Mortgage for me is there's always, they are absolutely incredible at marketing and branding. And they've always sold convenience of push button, get mortgage, right? When has convenience ever cost less? Never. Like I pay extra for Amazon to deliver my stuff in 2 days. So if convenience doesn't, so they've done a great job of making people think, oh, push button, get mortgage equals lower rates, less fees. And I know that to not be true. So I really am not worried about Rocket. I never have been. I'm not really worried about anyone, because if you truly believe in your value and what you're doing, then it's not hard to beat stuff like that. You have to add more value. Like I look at this no different than what we talked about with real estate agents last year. If you want to make the compensation you're making, you better be able to explain your value. And while I think on the real estate side, that's been a little bit delayed, I think buyers are starting to catch on to, wait a second, I can ask a realtor what I'm getting for my 2.5%, or I can try to get them to do it for less. I don't see it any different than what we're doing, but it's our job to overcome the misconception that a mortgage is one size fits all. It just isn't. It never has been. And even I was at the airport the other day and I was thinking about this. Went to buy like a water or something, and you just go to the kiosk now. It's like you just scan and go, right? That person has been replaced, and that person probably complained about their job at some point, right? I hear a lot of us complaining about our jobs, and that's fine because we will be replaced with what AI is doing, all these other things. If you just want to do kind of this basic job, you're replaceable. But if you're a true advisor to real estate partners, to financial advisors, to CPAs, and to consumers, then you're irreplaceable. And that's just what I see coming. So I think there's going to be a shift. I don't worry about Rocket Mortgage at all. I think refis will be more challenging, but purchase transactions won't.
Yeah, no, well, again, you have a rocket-proof mortgage career. I mean, you're delivering an incredible point of sale experience. If you don't have the absolute highest conversion in the industry, you've got one of the most highest conversion. So remember, my point wasn't like you, because you're rocket-proof. The typical local loan officer isn't you. And I believe that loan officers that don't transform and go beyond a transactional experience have a really, really big problem.
Yeah.
And so you align with that. So
Oh, absolutely. But I would have said that I've said that for years. Like there are the things that we're going to talk about today using MortgageCoach. I'm using it in the same way I did in 2017 when I started my mortgage origination career. And it was innovative back then. And sadly, somehow it's still innovative now. And I say sadly, it's because people still haven't chosen to. I think the perception is that it's too much work. And I look at it as I do less work because I do more, I keep saying think smaller. Like everyone's trying to think giant, and I just think that doesn't work. If you are doing 5 transactions a month, you can do 10, right? And if you do 10 in your market, you just doubled your market share. Rocket Mortgage has to do millions of transactions to double their market share. So if the reason you want to become better is because you're scared of Rocket Mortgage, I think that's completely the wrong reason.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, let's go through your conversion process. Just unpack, the coaching you want to give. I know you've got some real world stories to share. Go through, tell those stories, and share what you're doing. And also, Kathy just posted a question in chat, so feel free, if you see a question you think you can answer, to go for it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So Kathy, I'll start with yours. So how do I overcome rate shoppers? You lost a jumbo deal to Morgan Stanley. The rate was 1% lower. My client confessed they are difficult to work with, but the rate is much lower. He said he wants to work with me, but the payment Morgan Stanley is offering is too good to pass up. Odds are Morgan Stanley is leveraging the assets that he has with them. That's why they're able to offer a lower rate. And if it's a jumbo deal, a 1% difference in interest rate is massive. So I don't look at that as losing that deal. I would look at that as I never had it. And what I try to do with situations like that is lose as fast as I can, because I can't compete with a company that is going to leverage their clients' own funds, right? So think about where Morgan Stanley's coming from. And this is something I've noticed with me, is I'm always thinking of where the other side is. Morgan Stanley doesn't want them to pull their funds out, right? If they pull their funds out, they're going to make less in commissions and fees and everything else. So it's like, hey, let's just find a way to give them a loan against their own assets. It's very low risk. And that's what all these bigger companies are doing. And so when I have somebody like that, if they brought that up, I'd say, go look into that. Those programs can be more restrictive. And if they are, I have solutions, because if the 1% lower rate doesn't work because you want to do 20% down instead of 25, then it doesn't exist. And then I can get it. And I think that's part of this service-based industry. Sometimes telling someone to go with another option is doing the best for them. And hopefully they tell their friends who don't have that same level of net worth that you worked in their best interest and from a place of integrity.
And by the way, make sure anytime you've got someone that can put more than 20% down, especially if they have a financial advisor, you should be showing them. And again, there's a lot of people, especially in private banking, they can pay cash. They can put 50% down, show them that analysis, show Mortgage Coach, show different down payment options, know what the actual rate of return is that they're getting with their financial advisors. And sometimes they could get a quarter, a half lower rate. But when you look at the net worth, putting a smaller down payment, keeping your money invested is a better decision. So at the end of the day, you as a mortgage coach can provide a better advice experience than any financial advisor in America. You know, like, by the way, that's a major poll. I'll actually share an example of a total cost analysis when we get to that, where a loan officer at US Bank, it was a consumer that could have put $1 million down. He said, hey, what if you put $400,000, no, 600,000, kept 400,000 invested at your rate of return? What would your net worth be? So, and Kathy, if you don't know how to do that, just show up for our Wednesday call or our Thursday call.
And Kathy, I just had one of those where I was referred someone. He wanted, I think it might have been Morgan Stanley, and what he wanted to accomplish, he couldn't do. They wouldn't allow the debt to income ratio. They wouldn't allow the down payment. So, you know, that 1% lower option isn't an option. It doesn't exist. And that's what I also tell people a lot of times is the rate doesn't matter unless you get the house, right? You can look at any mortgage you want, but if you can't get your offer accepted, it doesn't matter. So just while on Dave's point real quick, because I think this ties into lead conversion, I'll give you an example of one I did yesterday afternoon with someone. So kind of showing Dave's point of what to do with your money. So this is a young couple. They have no plans of having children. I learned all this on our Zoom. I always do a Zoom in a screen share so I can walk them through their TCA. So what I'm ultimately trying to do is find comfort in monthly payment and cash out of pocket. So I always start here and then go from there. So they're renting for $1,800 a month in a rent controlled place in Oakland, I think. And they're like, this is double. My payment is going to be double what we're used to paying. And I'm like, well, right. So our comfort zone is always based on where we currently are. Like a lot of this is psychology. But you're paying $1,800, which is ridiculously low. And they said the place is a dump. Like the landlord doesn't take care of the building. I'm like, right, because she's not making enough money to be able to take care of the building because it's all rent controlled. So if you're at $1,800, you're going to get what you pay for. So for twice as much money, it's yours and you get to have control of it. And I said, you guys have paid $196,000 in rent over the last 8 years while you've lived in that dump that you just described. And I go, nobody looks at the rent that way. Nobody looks at rent as, they just look at it as their monthly payment. They don't look at how it compounds over time. So 196,000, maybe it was 176, something like that. And they were blown away when I said it that way. So then they were talking about funds from their family. And I was like, look, it's amazing how fast your money works for you. If you bought a $500,000 home with $100,000 out of pocket, you would have net worth of $385,000. So you tripled your money. You tripled your initial investment. Again, they don't want to have kids. So I'm listening to what they're saying about their lifestyle. Yeah. And she said, I mean, building wealth is cool and all, but like, I mean, she kind of was like, who cares? Right. She's like, we could get more money from our family as well. And I said, well, let's look at it this way then, you know, use as much of your family's money as you can. But if you took the $50,000 difference and invested it in a high yield savings account, that would be $74,000 in 10 years, but also gives you the ability to draw down out of that to make up that difference in payment to keep your comfort zone. So that's really what I'm trying to show them. And I can't plan for that conversation, but I can make updates and changes live on a Zoom like we are right now and show them exactly what we're talking about, right? So I'd rather show than tell. And that just speaks exactly to what Dave was saying, as I was like, keep the cash, use that as your rainy day fund. If you are uncomfortable with that payment, if you paid an extra $200 a month, here's what it's doing, but it's still earning you money at the same time.
Yeah. And then let me share my screen real quick, because I just want to really punch this home for anybody and everybody. Remember, we're talking conversion. You want to optimize conversion? First of all, authorship is ownership. Give people options. And then when they pick the option, they pick the loan officer. So you're going to have a solution. 2, get off the focus of the transaction and what people really want is they want financial freedom lending. Like, how can I have home ownership and achieve financial freedom faster? So this is the example where they could have put over $1 million down. They could have bought the house cash, but they were, we're going to put $1 million down. The loan officer showed them options. He's not selling them any particular program. He put a video on it. You know, again, you want to improve conversion, humanize it, connect with the family. And then he gave them options, and he showed them that, like, hey, look at your net worth with the option with a smaller down payment. And by the way, financial advisors love this kind of stuff. They'll see you as a real value. So again, for anyone who's watching this, by the way, is my video not working?
Just jumped off just now. It was on a second ago.
I'm back. So for anyone that doesn't know how to do that, every Wednesday, every Thursday, we have open office. You can sign up for that. It's on our website, get live training. All right. So any other questions you want to answer before you get into your process for creating conversion? And then do speak. You and I went back and forth on text, talk about how not only are you converting the transaction, but you're really serving that consumer over the course of 30 years, over a lifetime, to achieve financial freedom faster.
Well, and I think that's all part of it. So I don't like, I think people come to these calls expecting a script or a tactic or a blueprint on how they can convert more. And I don't have that for you. What I have for you is how to be a human to other humans in a world where humans are trying to replace themselves. Like, we're trying to replace ourselves in this business. And then all of a sudden, when we're replaced, we're going to be upset about it. I'm not trying to replace myself. I'm trying to use technology to enhance the experience people get by working with me. So conversion, the example I just gave you, by listening to this couple that their life plan does not include children at this point, heard that before, but so far that's not in the plan. They have gift funds from family. They're concerned about their payment being too high. So they're going to get more money from family to make that payment more comfortable by putting it down. I'm saying that is one solution, but you could just keep it. And if you took 50,000 divided by 200, it means you would have X months of payments. It was almost like 12, 13 years, I believe, when I did the math on it. And I'm helping them see something that they wouldn't have seen otherwise. I'm helping them create a customized mortgage plan instead of a one size fits all plan. And what's the alternative to this? Like, what else could I have done? I could have just said, yeah, put more money down. You could definitely do that. They would have been okay. And I'm like, and your payment changes by X dollars. They would have said, oh, that doesn't really move the needle very much. I could make it easier on myself. I could quote one interest rate because it's easier if I just assign them an interest rate. But it works a lot better when you empower people to be in control of their mortgage. So there are multiple rates available every single day. And I don't want to assign you one. I want to show you the data so that you can choose your interest rate. And that goes, how do you overcome rate shoppers? That's one of the ways, because I'm not assigning it to them. I'm overcoming the misconceptions of the sales and gimmicks of the mortgage industry. So my whole conversion plan is to call the mortgage industry out on its nonsense, which helps me to build trust with the people I want to serve. And at the same time, kind of creating distrust in anyone who does what I say they should look out for. Dave, Jeremy was on a call. Was it last Friday's call? It was the illicit conversation.
Yeah,
so they were talking about how it's like, you can create questions that when they call the next lender, we know what the other lender is going to say. And they go, Sean told me to watch out for this. So who do they trust? Right. I want to be the guy that builds that trust. And that's the conversion plan. So let me show you another one.
So by the way, are you saying what they shared you liked, like you thought that's exactly what you do?
Great.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, write this down. WRCD. WRCD. Everything that he's telling you right now is what Rocket cannot do. Like, they can't do it. They won't do it. Servicers aren't going to do it. That same call, Andy showed a really good strategy of how to win rate and term refis with when you're competing with servicers. Make sure you check that out. And then, by the way, what that he's also doing, what Rocket can do. What Rocket can do. He's got a great point of sale. He's got a great LOS. He's got MortgageCoach. You know, he's got a great rocket-proof experience, but he's also, the way he's using that tool, the way he's doing it, it's what they can't do, what they can do. And by the way, guys, if you're a real estate agent, just replace the Z with an R. They need to do what Zillow cannot do, and also do what Zillow can do. And if you are a modern mortgage advisor like Sean, you can help him do it.
And honestly, it becomes fun. I love, so let me show you this example. This was from a call I did Saturday morning. So this couple, yes, this is the right one. So one, if you send anybody a TCA, you always include a video, because if this isn't here and you email them a link and they look at this, they're going to be like, it looks cool, but I don't know what any of this means. If they've never experienced a TCA before, you have to provide context, and the best way to provide context is through a video. So did a Zoom with this couple Saturday morning. It took an hour, and it can take as long as it needs to take. But they prefaced it by saying, Sean, just for full transparency and context, I was referred to you by the realtor I like, and then my wife was referred to another lender by the realtor she likes. So we're trying to figure out who we want to work with. No, Mike, just put yourself in a place where the background is ideal. Like, it doesn't have to be ideal. Done is better than perfect. But if all I have is audio, I can't see how confident you are in what you're presenting to me. So they prefaced it with, I like this agent. That agent told me to use you, Sean. My wife was referred to a different agent, and that agent referred her to another lender. And I went into it, like, I got excited hearing that. I'm like, I'm just going to smash this other lender. No problem. And I said, that's good. And I said, and you guys may end up choosing a different realtor and a different lender. You don't have to work with that partnership. Like, you may choose Mike and choose the other lender and not me. And whatever team you pick, you need to do with confidence. And so I understood where they were coming from. Then I started walking them through what we were looking at. And again, I have price, payment, cash out of pocket highlighted. These are both examples I've shown you are first-time buyers. Everyone says, what do I qualify for? I don't really care what you qualify for. I care about what you want to qualify for. Your monthly payment and cash out of pocket comfort is going to tell us your ideal price point, and then your realtor will show you homes within that range. So we started walking through this, and I had it at a broader range. I think I went up to like 750, and they're like, the payment at 750 is just, we don't want that. And I said, okay, no problem. So on the fly, I jump in, come back to here or whatever. I go back to the main page, update as we go. So they're seeing it all happen live. And they go, well, the other lender said we only.
Sean, will you put a link to this in chat real quick? I want to check something out for everybody. And also a few people have asked for it. So here is a link in chat. And anyone and everyone click on that.
So, I mean, yeah, if you have
and
that
by the way,
right now,
guys, you'll notice that when you click on this and you look at it, Sean is one of the alpha testers of the new MortgageCoach AI assistant. So you'll actually be able to ask the total cost analysis questions. So feel free to put Sean's AI assistant to work.
how come I can't see that?
Because it's in the borrower. Here, Sean, let me share my screen.
Oh, got it. Okay. So
let me share my screen, and then or actually, you know what? I think we can have two presenters. Let's see what this looks like. Can you see my screen?
No, I'm gonna turn mine off. Oh, cool.
Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
So yeah, in the borrower screen, this is what it is. So they could start asking and interacting with your total cost analysis. He's a brand new alpha user. He's just getting this within the past couple of days.
See, and I don't necessarily love AI because I think it's getting better and better, but that may end up hurting us, right? So I want to test it because I want to see what the experience is. And we have to embrace that AI is going to be there. But like the 3 questions it recommended, I don't like. Like, nobody cares about the total interest percentage. And that's something fun to talk about on a live call. But what I love about it is that I get the notes of the interaction and engagement they have with the AI, which will help me be a better human being to them, right? So I'm not trying to replace myself and going, oh, thank God the AI is there. I don't have to talk to these people anymore. I'm using it to go, this is going to help me help them more, because they may ask AI questions that they would feel stupid or embarrassed to ask me. So let me jump back into this. So, okay. So we go through this and they go, well, the other lender only qualified me to like 650. How'd you get me to 750? And I have my processing system open and I walk them through it. I'm like, I have your income here and this here and your assets here. And I said, I'm using FHA because it has more qualification room. The interest rates are lower and the mortgage insurance premium is lower. So your blended rate, if you take your interest rate plus your mortgage insurance premium and combine those, the total cost is less than if you use conventional financing, because there's such a dramatic gap in the interest rates. And they said, well, the other lender they sent me an email and said we qualified for 650 and that we would need about $20,000 above and beyond our down payment. I go, okay, well, what was the 20,000? They're like, we don't know. That's all it said. And I was like, okay, I clearly already won. And I said, oh, well, that's interesting, because if we look at your closing costs, I have your closing costs estimated at about $14,000. So I really don't know what their 20 would be. But maybe they're charging you discount points, or maybe they have other fees that I don't. It gives me an opportunity, giving full disclosure, full transparency, to show them exactly what they're going to get from me, compared to somebody else who said it's just easier and faster for me if I just say, hey, you're going to need like 20 grand above and beyond. And I'm like, the reason that's frustrating to me is I don't know what is in that. You don't know if they're charging you fees. You don't know if they're charging you points. You have no idea what's going on with that. And so doing a 1-hour phone call, having this level of transparency where every single fee associated with the transaction is accounted for. I won before, like I could have just stopped there. Like I already won, but then we went into more depth to help them feel comfortable and find comfort in their payment and their price range. And so what I have noticed is people are trying so hard to get more and more and more and more and more leads. You don't need more leads if you can convert better. If you treat people the way you'd want to be treated, if you advise them the way you would want to be advised, you will convert more. There was one gentleman who came to one of my events and, he's like, Sean, I got 1,000 leads, like 900 something leads last year. And I closed 50 something transactions. And I'm like, well, you just get rid of the 1,000 leads. Like that's the problem. You don't have enough time to work with that many people. And that means that the type of leads you're getting clearly don't qualify for one reason or another, or they're not choosing you. But all we want is more leads. We want these lead funnels and lead machines and lead magnets. I don't. I want to work with people that I can serve and help. And I get very, very specific about the type of marketing that I do to reach people that I can convert at a high level.
So make a note as we're unpacking Sean's lead conversion playbook. Quality matters. And some of this I know because I've interviewed Sean before, not only who the source was that referred the business, how well the source is at referring you the business. Share with everybody the type of diligence and process you put into how you are referred by your agents. Like what are the do's and don'ts of an agent referring you business?
So I need to get better. This is the thing this is like my biggest task for myself this year, is getting even better at this, on coaching agents on how to refer me, I hate the word scripts, but kind of creating scripts for them to go, even though you have your lender, here's how, because we have to overcome how agents feel. Agents don't want to push or force a lender on someone, because what if I messed up and the buyer goes, Melissa, I only used Sean because you told me to, and then he blew it. Now it's your fault, right? They're scared of it being their fault. So they let buyer, like, you can do whatever you want, And I go, do you really want to leave the biggest variable in the transaction, the lender, to chance? Do you really, is that really going to lead to the best client experience? Because your realtor partners need to not only have a great process, they need to have a great client experience. That client experience is what's going to lead to more 5-star reviews. It's what's going to lead to more referrals, because they're going to be remarkable. I want my real estate partners to be remarkable, but I'm doing a terrible job of teaching them how to do that. So for me, I coach my real estate agents on doing an email intro over text, over Sean, call this person, over Sean, I gave this person your number. And that's for two reasons. One, it just converts dramatically higher than any other method. And two,
Via
if I have
text,
I'm
via
sorry,
text, via
better than
text
text.
introduction.
No, email
Oh,
intro.
email.
Email
So
intro by
email
far.
converts better than text.
By than anything. And I coach them on that and explain why, right? But you have to put it in language they understand, because everybody likes to text now. And I'm like, and so realtors, a lot of their business is happening over text. Oh my gosh, I just saw a home I like. Will you come show it to me? Oh my gosh, I would love to. It sounds awesome. See you soon. Theirs is much more like in the moment, where I feel like I don't know the why. This is what I think is happening. When it comes to finance, I want people to feel like they can do it at their own schedule. So you can schedule at your convenience on my calendar. We're going to do a Zoom. Like, the process is dialed in, but I'm empowering the referral to be in the driver's seat of when they set the appointment. Text can feel like, I don't know whose phone number this is. I'm not replying to this, right? It just feels different. So I coach my agents to do email intros, because then I also have their email and I can put it into my weekly newsletter. I've been sending mortgage rate updates 3 times a week because it's been so volatile, to show everybody what's going on. And by far, they get viewed more than any other piece of content I put out there, but it's only by email, right? I can't text you that video. So there's 2 reasons. I can keep you in front of your customer if I have their email address, and they're just going to convert faster if we do. Your client will be in contract on average within 26 days from when you refer them, if they're referred by email. And when you tell agents that, 1, it's the truth. 2, I want them to show less homes and get paid faster. And I don't say that because I just am selfish in thinking about the realtor. If somebody wants to buy a house, they've never made an offer on a house they didn't want. I hate when realtors say, you know how it is, they got to make a few offers before they figure out the market. I go, no, they don't. That's our job. Our job is to teach them the market. Our job is to help them win the first house that they make an offer on. And using Mortgage Coach is one of the ways I do that. I don't want you to go out and show 20 homes. I don't want to miss home after home after home because they didn't know how to make a strong offer. I want their offer to look like cash right out of the gate. I want them to have complete confidence in the financing so that we can win faster. And so showing agents how that works is great. And that's what I've been failing at, is showing them. I know that if somebody refers me, their client is going to have an absolutely incredible experience. I was failing at showing my realtor partners what that experience looks like. So they're kind of just referring blindly. They're like, I don't know what Sean does, but it must be great. And that's broken. And so I built a presentation. Where is it? I bought an iPad just to have a presentation on it. So like, if I go to a coffee meeting now, I bring my little iPad. There's nothing else on this thing except for that presentation. And now I can visually show them exactly what their client experience is going to be. Here's an example of an email that you could use this same template to refer. Here's what your client will get in response. Here's what our first intro consultation will look like, where I show them how mortgage rates actually work, where I show them what their buyer's guide site is going to look like. Here's what it looks like when they're pre-approved. Here's what it looks like when they make their offer. Every step of the process is visual, and that's what was missing.
Yeah. So guys, get after it, make sure you have a visual presentation, make sure your total cost analysis is part of that. Have some stories. Hey, let me show you how I helped a move-up buyer. Let me show you how I helped a first-time home buyer. Like, it's not about the technology, guys. It's about the stories, the strategies. Make sure you show them that type of email. What does your email introduction sound like? Just give us a feel for what an email handoff is to Sean Herrero.
So I just took one that an agent I do the most business with uses, and she's very formula. She does a ton of business. She is #1 in her city, and she does it the same every time, right? Like, we just become creatures of habit. It basically just says, hey, buyer, I wanted to introduce you to Sean Herrero, our preferred lender. He'll take great care of you. It doesn't even matter what that says so much. I think the shorter, the better. I have other agents that it's like 3 paragraphs of kind of overselling it. And I'm like, less is more, right? Think smaller. My response is basically, thank you, realtor, for the introduction. It's nice to meet you, borrower. I always like to set up a quick call to answer any questions you have. Please click here to view my calendar and set up a time that's best for you. If you need me urgently, you can call me on my cell phone anytime. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you. Like, that's
simple. His voice, and And those things matter, and the consistency of execution. Just like I talk to some loan officers that are new to MortgageCoach and they're like, oh, I give the consumer the link and they don't click on it. Well, Sean, what do you say to a borrower? Like, what's the frame when you send the total cost analysis to a consumer, just to remind them on, because these little things make a difference in conversion.
Yeah. So then, yeah. And I think this process is part of why the conversion is so high. So that's how we get there. Most times the buyer won't even reply to the email. I'll just get an alert from Calendly saying, John Smith set up an appointment Wednesday at 5 or whatever it is. Right. So they don't even reply to the email. They just take action because the email was very specific into what the next action step is. Then we do our Zoom, initial consult. Sometimes it's a phone call. I really try to get people to do a Zoom right out of the gate so that they can see me personally and get to know me. You guys, if you're not using video still, you guys got to get over that because people want to see the confidence you have. They don't need to be convinced to believe what you say. They want to know that you believe what you say. And that is done by facial expression. So make sure you use video. And then after that, I say, I'm going to follow this call up with a link to the loan application so you can follow through, right? I send that out. Typically, they do it within 24 to 48 hours. We pre-approve them the same day. We send them their approval letter, the link to their TCA as a hyperlink in the email. And I've already recorded the video. And that's it. I give them the TCA right out of the gate. And a lot of people go, oh, well, Sean, that just sets you up to get shocked. Good. Like, I want to get shocked. The sooner I get shocked, the sooner I can say, send me all your quotes because I can model them out in your buyer's guide site, the TCA. And like, you will know, like, I will help you figure it out. And that way, if somebody is going to Morgan Stanley and has a 1% lower interest rate, you guys should run with that. That's like, because of your financial position that you have with Morgan Stanley, you are basically borrowing your own funds. You should run with that option. Not everyone has that available to them. And I'm done. I don't want to drag it out and try and convince someone to take a 1% higher interest rate. Like, who's that benefiting, them or me? And so I can lose quickly if I need to lose. I'm not going to convert 100%, but this process helps me align with the people I'm supposed to serve and the ones I'm not. And in losing quickly, I think empowers you to get referrals from the people you lost to, because not all their friends are in that situation. One of my friends sold his company for $450 million. We're in very different financial positions, but we talk all the time, right? He's going to get something from a financial advisor that I'm not, because I don't have the level of wealth that he has. But it doesn't mean he wouldn't be like, dude, I just talked to this lender. He can't help me, but he'd be perfect for you. So
Love that.
Reframe loss.
And by the way, Sean, now that your buyer guide has an AI assistant in it, is there going to be any difference in your scripting? Socia Vila also has the alpha. I just put a link in chat so you guys can see how Soci, or not the link, but a script. Is there anything different you're going to say about the TCA knowing that?
Yeah. So now in the video, and I mean, just so everyone knows, I got on the AI test this week and it's Tuesday. So I'm very new to it, but my video will say there is an AI assistant here, but it does not replace me because I don't believe it's going to tell you what I would tell you. Feel free to use it and ask it questions, but if you don't like or don't understand the answers, let me know, right? I'm not going to say I'm getting the full transcript because then they're not going to use it authentically, right? But that's basically what I'm going to say for that.
Yeah, no, solid script. And by the way, everyone, it is in alpha right now. It'll be in beta, which, by the way, it's closed. It was a very select number of people that were invited to that I knew would give us feedback, help us get the bugs out of it, help us tune it up. And it should be in general release by July. So FYI, everybody, stay tuned on that. But you do have a link to Sean, so feel free to play with that. A number of people asked for your presentation. Or is that something you're willing to share?
No, not anymore. Sorry, guys. I'm going dark a little bit on some of this stuff. I put a lot of time and attention into figuring all this out, and I just can't give it away for free anymore. So I have an event where I'll teach you how to do all this stuff. But I'll share my TCAs. You guys have those. I do these calls a lot. But if you want to get deep into the weeds and figure out your client experience, then I would encourage you to come hang out in Newport with me.
Yeah. And by the way, I completely respect that and understand, Sean. And where can people sign up? Do you have any openings in your next event?
Yeah, yeah, the next one's May 29th and 30th. It's in Newport. Um, and yeah, Chris, I got you, bud. Of course. May 29th and 30th, Thursday, Friday, and then I'm gonna probably schedule another one. I don't know when the next one will be yet, to be honest. And all the information's on the link that I put in the chat. And Chris, to answer your question, if you've come to these events, like you're in forever, right? So we do monthly calls for anybody who comes to the events. It's a very small, tight-knit group, and I plan to keep it that way. But yeah, that's where I really dive into the details in the weeds to not to give you my plan, but to help you create yours.
And that's also another really important distinction. While I do believe in studying other people's scripts and why I do so many interviews, these are like game film, you should study it. You know, the modern mortgage IQ platform is an incredible resource that hey, what would Jeremy's script be if he called a realtor? But you know what matters more than that? It's like, what's the right script for you? What is your authentic way to do things? So it's important to, create your own content. Even when you grab a template, or even if Sean did share this to you, it's so much more important that authorship is ownership. The more you create it, the more successful you'll be with it.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
really believe that if you're not authentic in what you do, it's not going to work. Dave, I'm sorry, what was the guy's name that did the illicit?
Andy Zeman.
Andy. So I listened to that call yesterday and it was awesome. And I'm going to learn how to do that more and more efficiently. But if I do it Andy's way, it won't work. But if I just take the time to understand it better and find my own voice within it, it will. So you got to take these tactics and strategies that relate and resonate with how you either sell or market. You're either a salesman or a marketer. That's what Renee Rodriguez says. You can't be both. I'm a marketer. So the way that I do things is going to be different than somebody who's a salesperson. Andy, in my, from watching the video, he is a salesperson. I have to take what I learned from his call, which was incredible, and figure out how to put my own voice to it.
Yeah, and guys, it was a great call. Jeremy
It really
came
was.
in at about a halfway through it. You got to hear those two bouncing ideas off of each other. It was an incredible call. Yes, that's in the YouTube channel. This will be in the YouTube channel. We're actually creating a couple micro lessons, less than 10-minute lessons in the modern Mortgage IQ platform, which Sean has created multiple guided experiences in. So I'll put a link to a 10-day free trial. Anybody that wants to see that information in Modern Mortgage IQ, there'll be a link down below. And if you have not taken the assessment to just see where you stand in terms of the 8 pillars of a modern mortgage advisor, get that assessment. It's free. We'll also put a link in chat in just a minute. So Sean, we're going into the 4th quarter of this call. I know you had some things you wanted to cover. I don't know how much of the things you wanted to cover we got covered. Is there anything that you came in prepared to share that you have not yet shared?
I had one more TCA open. But I don't think.
And by the way, guys, when he shows this mortgage coach presentation, I don't want you to think about this mortgage coach. I want you to think there's a family story. There's a customer. They had hopes, dreams, and goals. And someone listened to that customer, humanized with that customer, connected with that customer. You heard Sean, I want to get on Zoom. I want to connect with them. So there was connection that took place. There was listening that took place. And now he's telling that consumer story. He's delivering that consumer a strategy that's going to address and solve their needs. So Sean, before you show the TCA, tell us the story and then show us your strategy.
Yeah. So, and these are going to look the same, right? So what I'm hoping you guys are getting from this is, okay, I see like Sean kind of sets things up the same, and it depends on what stage of the process we're in. I always tell every buyer or every client, this site is yours forever. While you're buying your home, we're going to call it a buyer's guide, but save the URL to your favorites in your browser because it's yours forever. Once you own your home, it's my job to make sure you have the best mortgage possible. And we're going to show you refinance opportunities every 3 months. So I make sure that they know this is theirs. So with the one I'm going to show you next, this was a call I did yesterday afternoon. This buyer got pre-approved a year ago. He's in the Coast Guard currently. And he has I got screwed because I'm young and live in the Bay Area mindset, right? So it's like the world's against him. It's not fair that I can't buy a house where I want to buy because they're so expensive. Okay, let's figure this out together. So he comes out of nowhere. Hey, Sean, want to make an offer on a house potentially this weekend. Need to update my pre-approval. We get all that done. I update his TCA. Again, it's the same link he had previously. And we did a call yesterday, and it was a call, not a Zoom. But I could hear the tone of his voice and that he was still in that glasses half empty thought process. And his thought was, yeah, real estate used to be the best investment, but now it's not. I could just rent forever and invest in the market and do better. So we started going through that, and I go, well, wait a sec. Let's look at it this way. If somebody had 200,000, I'm just going to buy a house for $1 million. They have $200,000 invested in the market that they're going to pull out for their down payment. Well, that's a different situation because now they're going to pay capital gains taxes on liquidating those funds. So maybe they should do less than 20% down in that example. And is the rate of return that they're getting now better than the interest rate they're going to get? But Jason, that's not you. You're putting zero down. So if you have $200,000 invested in the market, it will continue to work for you because you don't have to liquidate it. You don't have to pay capital gains. You can now have your money multitask by buying real estate using your VA benefit that you've earned, and you're going to get appreciation in the market and appreciation in real estate. So you're going to win twice. It doesn't have to be real estate or stocks. What if it's both? And that's kind of how I kept saying to him, look, we can take the glasses half empty look. Here's my glasses half full look. And so the presentation wasn't anything different. It was the same concept. Let's look at different price points to find comfort. And then what does the net worth look like? And then they got into, lifestyle, right? A large majority of my clients are millennials, first-time home buyers. And it was, we could find a different house, but right now in the apartment we're in that isn't big enough for the 2 dogs that we have a beautiful view of the hills. It's like, okay, well, if you love the view of the hills, then you're in the right place. Yeah, but it sucks because it's not big enough for our dogs. Well, Jason, what's more important, right? So I'm getting outside of the financing and just helping people look at the vision of what they want for their life. And that is far more important than dollars and cents. I tell people all the time, if you have to give up doing everything you want to do in your life, everything that truly you enjoy, don't buy a house. It's just not worth it. Like, we only live once and we don't know how long we live for. So don't buy a house if you're going to be house poor, because that will be no fun and you'll regret it and have resentment every single day. So the conversion, kind of in the fourth quarter in summary, the conversion isn't a tactic. It's not I do the same thing every time. If I do the same thing every time, it's listening to people's wants, thoughts, and concerns, and then helping to either justify and validate those or helping them overcome them to see something different or see a different possibility. And that is what I think is leading to the conversion, is giving them the data, show, not tell, using MortgageCoach, and then truly listening to what people's plans are.
With the goal, guys, write this down. Sean is a financial freedom lender. Like he is helping people achieve financial freedom. He's showing them options, strategies to achieve financial freedom faster. Like he's just playing an entirely different game than your typical loan officer. And so like rocket proof, like Sean Herrero is good to go. I can't recommend enough. Anybody that you resonate with Sean, you dig Sean, check out his upcoming mindset event. I lead a walk and talk, sunrise walk and talk on Saturday. So we start early. It's always just a magical group of people. They become really connected. My guess is almost everybody that's attending your event, if not everybody, is just become like a community within a community. And so, guys, I just can't recommend being part of the Mindset event with Sean Herrero. There is a link in chat. If you're watching this in YouTube, there'll be one link. We're using housing link. So there'll be one link, the housing.link. And then within that link, everything we've mentioned today. You want to get the assessment for Modern Mortgage IQ? Link. You want to sign up for the 10-day free trial? Link. Some of the total cost analysis that Sean has shared? Links. The link to his presentation? go to Sean's event, and he'll teach you how to create your own presentation.
Yeah.
All right. So I do want to close out because I believe to rocket proof your career as a local mortgage professional, you need to win your database and you need to win locally. And I do believe that being a First Home IQ ambassador is a great brand strategy. It's a great way to win both. Like you could be emailing your database, showing families how to help the next generation get into homeownership, and then showing up in local ways as a First Home IQ ambassador. Why did you sign up in the first spot to be a First Home IQ ambassador? Like, what's your First Home IQ? Why?
Because I want my kids to know what I didn't know as early as possible. And if I want it for my kids, I want it for all their friends. Like my son's 22, my other son's 17, and then I have a 7-year-old. I learned later in life. I just look at how well compounding interest works in your favor, whether it's real estate, stocks, whatever it's in. If you build good financial habits early, you will win. And I learned that later in life. And I want better for everybody. And everything from the media, everything is anti-housing. Everything is saying real estate. You'll never hear the media say it's a good time to buy, ever. We need to show people how real estate is the only real way you can build passive wealth. I don't believe in passive income. I've never found anything that truly makes people money where they do zero work. But if you pay your mortgage payment and just keep going, you're going to have money, like automatically. And it's the only way that does it.
Yeah.
That's why I love First Home IQ. And then Dave gave me ideas to how I could take First Time IQ and make it Veterans IQ by taking these same financial principles and not applying it to the youngins, but maybe it's to service members that may not know these things. I just set up an employee benefit program with a heating and air conditioning company because the trades think they can't buy homes. They don't make enough money. And I'm going to prove all of that wrong. We have a job to protect everyone. And Dave keeps saying we need to rocket proof our businesses. I want you to Sean proof your business. Like if you don't do the things I'm doing, I'm coming for him. Like I need to double my units.
Well, and by the way, for everyone listening to this, listen to this carefully. Rocket is not your biggest threat, but in every market, there are Sean Herreros. There are local professionals that are upgrading. They're delivering a mortgage coach experience. They're being thoughtful with their data. They're becoming local celebrities within niches. You just heard on this call, like Sean is a leader in his local community, but Sean is a leader in the SEAL community. And now you just heard that Sean is becoming a leader in the, was it service workers?
Just blue. I want blue collar to be homeowners. My dad did heating and air conditioning. He taught me you pay your rent, you pay your bills, and you'll retire one day. And that's life. And anybody who has a Mercedes is the scum of the earth. Yuppies are the worst. And that's what I was taught about money. And none of that is true. And money if you have money, you can help a lot of people and you can have a big impact. So I want more people to understand how that works. And so they can pass it on to their kids too.
So we will put a link in Housing Wire, or not in Housing Wire, in Housing Link. We'll put a link in chat right now. If you are not a First Home IQ ambassador, check it out. Also, there's a tremendous amount of free resources. You could just, get on the database and there's a lot of content, a lot of strategy that you can use. We created that platform for teachers. We created that platform for parents. We created that platform for kids. We created it for loan officers and realtors. But if you want to be an ambassador and get the link so that you're building your database and really get all the custom content, become an ambassador. So link down below. All right, brother, we got 5 minutes left. Let's close out on mindset, because I know part of why you become frustrated. You said, "Oh, I'm gonna go a little dark." Is you're frustrated by the mindset of some mortgage professionals. So really, permission to speak constructively, but freely to every mortgage professional listening right now.
Okay, so over the last year since I started this event, I've really talked to a lot of people and I see how people won't get out of their own way. I talked to a friend of mine the other day. He went to high school with my wife's cousins and we were going back and forth, and he's like, he's going to quit the mortgage industry. And to me, he's one of the good ones. Super smart, cares about people, works with integrity. And so I was like, let's jump on a Zoom. And we went through it. He has no plan. He has no plan. He just was hoping things works out. He makes content. And then I look at the content. I'm like, what's the purpose in this? Right. I see too many people that are lacking plan and purpose. And you can watch every mortgage coach presentation you want and get all the tactics you want. But if you don't have purpose and you don't have a plan, it's not going to do you any good. Like I come to this job, I just got like goosebumps for some reason, but I come to this job like very excited every single day because I know what my purpose within this industry is. I feel an obligation and duty to give back to our community because my career before I became a mortgage advisor, my career was helping loan officers do more business and help more people, like marketing, all those things. And I went broke doing that because they didn't do the work. And so now since 2022, everyone's been waiting for rates to come down, waiting for inventory, waiting for this, waiting for something. Your life isn't waiting for you. Your life is passing you by while you wait for external circumstances to improve your life. It's all on us. Like no one is coming to save you except for you. And so the sooner you figure out why you want to be here and who you're supposed to help, I swear to God, it becomes automatic. Like my business feels automatic. I have this whiteboard in front of me and it says, get these offers accepted this week. And I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I wanted to get one deal a day, right? One real live deal a day. And I went, I wonder what would happen if I wrote 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got more than 5 deals. Like we put this limiting belief on ourselves. We try to make it easy for us instead of serving others. And it shifts. So I want everybody I want you to get to enough's enough. And like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm not waiting for external circumstances anymore. And that's what has to happen.
Well, here's the deal, guys. Control the controllables. You absolutely, as an industry, cannot control interest rates. Absolutely cannot control inventory. Absolutely cannot, change compliance changes. Cannot control whether Zillow acquires Redfin and Rocket and becomes 1 in 6 mortgages under management. But everybody on this call, you could control stopping being a transactional loan officer and start being a financial freedom mortgage advisor. Purpose and profits. Like, how do you have a life of purpose? I mean, a lot of people, since I sold MortgageCoach, they're like, Dave, it seems like you're working harder than ever. Like, dude, when are you ever gonna slow down? Well, I've never felt like I can have more influence and impact to help the more, first of all, no loan officer left behind. So the industry that's given so much back to me, I think I can add so much more value to them. And then I also feel like it's never been more obvious how it works in America. Owning a home versus renting a home is the wealth gap in America. And it's also never been more obvious that there is a path for everyone. Like, yes, you might need to move a state. Yes, you may need to get a job working virtually and drive and live 2 hours away from where you really want to live. But for everybody, if they have a mortgage coach that's showing them the truth around data, showing the truth around how it works, like, we can make a difference as an industry. So I hope you guys got a lot of value. Sean Herrero, don't go too dark on us, brother. Don't go too dark.
Love you.
All right. All right.
Bye, you guys.
If you're on the fence, get signed up. I would love to see a packed house at the mastermind event. And really, it may be the last one in a long time because Sean is just like, he's really pissed that he's not doing 200 million this year. Like, it's not an act. Like, he is like 100 million. He's pissed about it. And you know what? Enough. He controls that. So he's like, okay, I can control that. I can't necessarily control how many people come to my mastermind, but I can control my loans. So get signed up. This might be the last one for a while. Take care, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.